DMF. I am your host, Justin Yachts, and today my guest is William Grefé. This is part 3 of my interview with him. He's a famous director from the 60s and the 70s. Enjoy. So now you ended up on Live and Let Die. How was that?
Well, I was at the Cannes Film Festival, and
Mm,
I met Cubby Broccoli, who's one of the
yeah.
producers, and so he knew I was with Ivan Tors, and that we'd done a lot of underwater stuff. So he asked me if I wanted to do some of the second unit on Live and Let
Mm,
Die.
mm,
So anyway, I made a deal at the Cannes Film Festival, and that's the way I got on. We shot most of it in Bimini, and for the shark stuff and all of that, because I always Bimini is very clear water, and it's best to do underwater stuff in Bimini. We're off of Florida. A lot of times it's stirred up, sandy, and all of that. So that's the way I made the deal at the Cannes Film Festival.
Did you enjoy working with them?
They gave me more money. I didn't know how to spend it all, so, you because I was used to budgets. Anyway, but it's a whole different ballgame, working on these big movies, and you go on. I mean, some of the stuff Melanie's done is unbelievable. Like this
Yeah.
last thing she did, Manhunt, is about John Wilkes Booth, the man that killed Abraham Lincoln. They had 20 makeup and hairdressers, because everybody had beards and this and that. And, 170 people on the crew. And
Yeah. Well, you gotta be like, you really gotta kind of like set up and be the leader, because they're just like, you've got now all these people that are gonna go, well, I'll go over here, and nobody's paying attention to this, so it's like
another thing, though,
everybody's gotta be focused.
I mean, like every movie Melanie works on, they got the production manager, they got a first, second, third, with the directors and all that. I never had a production manager, and
You
and
just went in.
and did all that stuff myself. So
But you paved the way for it to be like this.
yeah, uh, uh,
So so the Godmothers now, we
uh,
we come to that. Why is this movie so hard to find?
well, here again, it was a tax shelter thing, and
Is that another one that was addiction?
yeah, and but yeah, Mickey Rooney, he wrote the script, and
Mm.
give you, for instance, do you remember the scene? Have you seen The Godmother?
I couldn't find it. I looked everywhere.
Well, there's a
I've
the
seen
only,
like the
there was a
little
Spanish.
scenes in the.
Anyway, there's a Spanish version of it. I don't have the American version. I don't know.
Mm.
That was a tax shelter deal, but Mickey Rooney, wrote the script, and we had a scene where he and his partner go to a Japanese restaurant, and we were planning on shooting something. And Mickey comes in the morning and says, "Hey, Bill, I got a great idea. I just wrote this scene. We're in a Japanese restaurant." And the producer had never produced a movie before. I said, "Mickey, we don't even have costumes or anything." And he said, "Oh, no, no." And so he went to the producer, and the producer, "Oh, it's Mickey Rooney. We've got to do it." So anyway, we go out, we get a Japanese restaurant. We had to get the costume. We didn't start shooting till about 2 in the afternoon. And I winged that whole thing. Mickey told me a story that you got to relate this now to, a major actor. But he said when he was under contract to MGM, well, John Barrymore was the big
Mm.
romantic lead, but he was an alcoholic. And halfway through a movie, he went on a drunk and disappeared. So Louis B. Mayer hired every detective agency in LA and every bar, and they finally found him. They brought him back to the studio to do the movie, finish the movie. Every night, they'd handcuff and leg iron him to the bed so he couldn't escape. So can you imagine today, a major star that they handcuff him? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Although some might, benefit from that.
But, but that's the way they handle the stuff.
The studios, they owned you. You signed their contract. They pretty much, could do whatever they wanted with you.
Right. So
it's crazy. So that brings us to Impulse. Talk a little bit about Impulse, how this came about.
Well, Impulse, Socrates Ballas, he was an actor and worked with me as sort of an assistant on a couple of movies I made. And in The Hook Generation, he's the guy on the boat that got shot, Cuban, played a Cuban, he got shot with a spear gun. And so he wanted to produce a movie, and he went over to Tampa, Florida, and he raised the money and hired me to direct it. So we were in Miami. We're going to fly out to LA to try and find some name actor. And we're in the airport, and here William Shatner comes walking by. And I said, hey, there's Shatner. So we trapped Shatner, got him and told him, and we made a deal with him right in the airport, and never went to California.
Was he receptive to the idea immediately, or did you have to kind of sell him on it?
No, I had to sell him on it. I told him what the deal, but see, the way that script was, though, I didn't like the whole concept. The concept, the way he had the Shatner character, he was just, got this little girl, and he was like a bad guy, and just sort of a typical mean robber, villain type guy. And I had known con men that they wouldn't come out, like if they wanted to con you out of money, they wouldn't approach you.
Well, being in Hollywood, con men.
Now listen, I know the Hollywood mind better than any Florida cracker you'll ever meet, I'll tell you that. but anyway, it was a situation that I sat down with Tony Cruchellis, the writer, and Shatner, and I said, I've known these guys that when they want to con somebody, they have a deal where they won't let you, I don't need the money, but I'm doing this thing. It's full up, and there's no way you can get involved. But they make it sound where you're begging them to give you money, just like this latest guy that con these people with the bitcoins.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's the same thing. I know the same schemes. They just get changed.
Rewrote the whole script like that. And now something interesting on Impulse that young filmmakers should look at, and this is where preparation comes in. Do you remember the scene where Shatner kills the woman and the car goes down into the water?
Yeah. Beginning of the movie.
The way I did that, see, the way the majors would do it,
they would just smash a car into the water.
Well, they'd probably do it. And Bob McCalsey said when I told him how I did that, he said, "Oh, today we'd CGI it. Everything would be CGI, But
But
the
then
way
it wouldn't look, but you wouldn't get the weight of the feel of the car. So it would kind of, I agree with the practical effects still, if you can do it.
here's the way the preparation,
Mm.
I knew that scene was going to come up. So in pre-production, I went out to the Hertz Retta, and they were in awe that we were doing a film with William Shatner in Tampa, because nobody had ever done a film in Tampa before. And so I told them, so I picked out a brand new expensive car, and I said, can you set this aside for a certain date? And they said, yeah, oh, yeah. So they set the car aside, I could rent it. And I told the guys in prep, I said, go out to a junkyard, find me a car. I don't need an engine, a transmission, just something that rolls, that the hood looks something like this new car, and paint the hood the same. So they went out and for $200 set that whole thing up. And the way I shot it is I had the brand new car where Shatner has the woman, he chokes her to death, he hits the car goes down. The old junker, I put a underwater camera in the back of it, goes down like this, hits the water, and the hood flew up and goes down. I mean, it was a great shot, And then I had divers go down and got the camera and hook a chain, and we pull the car out. And I put the car in the swimming pool of the hotel we were staying at. And I went down and had the girl get in the car. And then I went down with an underwater camera and I filmed her, where she was dead.
Yeah.
The thing, But I mean, who else would dump a car in the swimming pool of the hotel?
But it works.
Yeah.
It works really well. So
And,
yeah, you're right. Preparation is everything.
yeah.
One of the things I liked that you do throughout the movie is as he starts to lose his mind more and more, like he starts to just be like become this sweaty, like demon like character, William Shatner.
Right.
He's
At
yeah.
the end of it, remember when they come out of the car wash and
Yeah.
And he finally gets out and Cicada's there and all of that. Well, we did an all-night shoot. And just as we got there, the sun started to come up. And I knew I had to get that immediately. I said to the cameraman, I said, give me that handheld, Larry. I said, just follow me with a light. And so I shot that whole thing where Cicada gets killed. I shot that whole thing in like 5 minutes myself. I said, Cicada, lay down. And I ran with the camera like I was the car hitting it.
That's how you did. Oh, that's how you did it. Oh, wow.
And I shot that whole 5 minutes myself, with a handheld camera. I knew if that sun came up, we'd have to come back another night to do it, That was an interesting.
I like that. I like that. I like that shot. And yeah, it's sometimes the simplest. It's right there. Anything else to say about William Shatner's performance? Like you kind of already alluded to kind of how he knows all the tricks of the trade.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people ask me, how Shatner has driven some directors crazy. I don't know if you ever saw that thing on YouTube. You ought to go to YouTube where a director tells him how to read a line. He drives this director nuts. You ought to go on YouTube and watch that. But for some reason, Shatner and I got along good together, Person, Shatner's a funny guy. I was out in LA once and I went to see him, and he's got like 20 horses up in Kentucky. He loves horses. And I walked in and I said, hey, Bill, how are the horses doing? Let me tell you this, Grefé. You never invest in something that eats while you're sleeping, because you had imagine what it costs to feed 20 horses, And in person, he's a funny guy. And I go, like, I did about 20 of those half-hour films for Bacardi rum.
Yeah.
And I was doing the one in Puerto Rico at the distillery. So I called up Shatner and I told him I can't pay you what you get on a feature, but you want to come to Puerto Rico and bring your girlfriend and all this. And said, yeah. Then he said, well, how much did you get for wardrobe? And I said, well, yeah, I knew all he needed was a shirt and a pair of slacks. And I said, I don't know, $100. Well, maybe I could go to Walmart and find something. That was his answer. Because he's used to, I guess, shopping on, Beverly Hills or whatever. Anyway,
That's funny.
I got along great with Shatner. And
All right, moving on to Mako Jaws of Death, which originally you had Henry Silva was going to play. You wanted him to play, and then you ended up getting Richard Jacobs, who
yeah,
I
it's
thought did a phenomenal job on this. This
oh
is actually this might be my favorite of your films, was
yeah.
Mako, the
Richard
Jaws
is
of
the
Death.
most professional actor I've ever worked with. Like he
Yeah.
was such a pro. I loved but see, Henry Silva was really big in Europe at the time. So I had lunch with him out in LA, and he had read the script, and he said, Bill, I'm a New York boy. I can't swim a lick. Can you fake it? I said, no, I'd love to, but I'm sorry. There's no way, so I didn't use him. But Richard that was the first day of filming was the worst day I'd ever had on filming. What happened is, see, as I told you, those cameras weighed 200 pounds, the big Mitchells and all that. So my whole directorial plan was to film with the Aeroflex had just come out with the Airy BL, which was a handheld blimp camera. Because when you're filming on boats and all, it's a nightmare, So there was only 2 of them in the United States. One was in Miami, and a German named Egon Stefan had gotten one, and there was one in LA. So the very first day we were going to film, and I was rehearsing the other actors, and first AD came in, and he said, Bill, are you sitting down? I said, yeah, why? What's wrong? He said, we just wiped out the camera. I said, you wiped out the camera? What are you talking about? Well, the assistant had put it on the tripod to load the magazines, and he cross-threaded so when they finished, they put it over their shoulder, and the damn camera came off the tripod and hit and broke the housing. Said, all right, well, go back and get a Mitchell. And I went back and got the Mitchell, which is a nightmare, a 200-pound monster. And so later I converted to a blimped Airy that I was lighter than the Mitchell. But so now I'm in rehearsing the actors. And I said, look, I got a handheld Airy that has no sound. And I know the 2 boats are coming up with Johnny Chandler and all come up. Bring the boats up, I'll shoot those. So I've been rehearsing the actors. Richard Jekyll wasn't in that first scene. And so I'm rehearsing the actors. Bill, are you sitting down? Now what's happened? The boats got stuck on a sandbar, and it will be 3 or 4 hours till the tide comes up to get them off the. So now I got, I've got no camera.
No boats.
No boats. So I said, well, let me think. All right, there's this scene where I can do it with this handheld Airy, where Shatner, where Richard Jekyll taking a shower, and I said, go get Richard and tell him, I have a change in plans. Can he come? So the AD went out, came back. Bill, are you sitting down? Now what has happened? Richard Jekyll, we just rushed him to the hospital. He jumped on the prop truck and cracked his head open. He bleeding like a stuck pig. So now I have no main camera, I have no boats, and to Richard's credit, I know a dozen actors that, oh, I've cut my head, I need a couple of days off. Richard came back and demanded to work. And we didn't start shooting till about 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And he was a real trooper. He's the best actor I've ever worked with as far.
Well, he cares about the project. It's not just about him. He cares about the project and he wants to be a team player. So he's
well, he was terrific.
What was it like to shoot real sharks? How was that?
Well, my wife always said when I'd call her from Bimini, she'd say, Bill, do you still have all your toes and fingers? Remember the scene where three sharks, we let 3 sharks go at once?
Yeah.
One of them turned back and came right at me, and I kicked him in the head. When he came to me, I kicked him in the head, and their skin is like sandpaper. I don't know.
Yeah.
It scraped the bottom of my foot, when I kicked him in the head. But my stuntmen and all, I mean, you saw the scene where they grabbed the dorsal fin. I mean, they were unbelievable. Jordan Klein, the cameraman, was doing one film, and the camera goes, it makes a noise. Yeah. He was filming that shark, and the shark didn't like the sound, and the shark came at the camera, boom, and Jordan just shoved the camera in his mouth. Well, the shark's mouth was about this big. He shoved the camera in his mouth, and we shut down his tonsils, And I sold that scene a couple of times, once to the Germans and once to Disney, because I've never seen anybody shoot down a shark's tonsils, Now, interesting thing on that, back then, see, everything was sharks, because they'd just come out,
Jaws.
Spielberg's Jaws. Remember the scene where the girl is in the fish tank or in the bar? And so we had we were shooting in Bimini, and we had a shark, and we threw him up on the beach, and the crew came and they said, Bill, can we pull the teeth out of this shark? Because we could get, $25-30 a tooth, because everybody was making shark necklaces and this and that. So I said, yeah, go ahead, That damn shark had been out of the water for like a half hour, 45 minutes. And so we did it in the tank. Damn shark, when we put him in the water, was alive. And if you watch that scene close, damn shark, boom, grabs the girl. Do you remember?
Yeah.
He was gumming her to death, because he had no teeth. I mean, if we had to pull the teeth.
Also, I didn't know that. So that's how they were. Oh, she was okay, because it was attacking her, but it has no teeth.
So
I mean, that's just what I like that you did with this film is really, like, instead of Stanley, where Stanley's kind of, a villain throughout the whole thing, he's kind of sympathetic, but you kind of always get the sense with Richard Jekyll's character, you feel bad for him. Plus, he's got the medallion, and if he hadn't lost the medallion, they probably wouldn't have attacked him. It's like he realizes he's failed, and he's taking his own life, and he's like, I failed the sharks. Now I'm gonna die. I really loved Mako. That was probably my favorite film that I watched.
Yeah, but Richard was the best pro I've ever worked with. He was fantastic. I mean, the guy was so cooperative and everything. I love Richard. And unfortunately, he was a California boy, and he got melanoma, and died of skin cancer pretty young.
Yeah. But he was great. He was just phenomenal in that movie. All right, so moving on to we are now at Whiskey Mountain, and you filmed this in North Carolina. Where in North Carolina did you film?
Well, I have a property up there in Scaly
Mm-hmm.
Mountain, so I know the mountains real well. Quentin Tarantino. Did you see that thing he did on
I
YouTube?
did.
They think they think I ripped off Deliverance,
Delivering, but I
but
don't. Yeah.
I never did that because of Deliverance. My two hobbies were dirt bike riding because I had dirt bikes up in the mountains, and the second was I'm a Civil War
Yeah.
amateur historian. So I wrote that about my love of dirt bikes and love of Civil War stuff. So I wrote it to shoot up in North Carolina. But I think you heard, when Christopher George shows up,
He had to
you
haul the
want me
the
to
porta
tell him
potties.
he'd been in 3 John Wayne movies. John Wayne loved him. And
Yeah.
he shows up and said, "Hey, Bill, where's my trailer?"
You don't have one.
I said, "Well, I got one Winnebago, but it's for makeup and costumes and you four actors. But on a John Wayne movie, I had my own trailer. I'm Bill Grefé. I'm not John Wayne, so he was a good sport on that.
Yeah.
But now we had to go out on location, and I had some women on the crew, the actresses, so I couldn't afford to get a big Winnebago or not the big
Yeah. A big trailer with,
trailer with dressing room. So anyway, I said, "Well, go rent 2 porta potties and put them on a little flatbed trailer. So, and we'll tow them out to location." So head grip comes to me in Grefé. We only got one grip truck, and we got to, tow the generator. How are we going to get? I said, "Well, look, the actor's trailer, it's got a trailer hitch. Hook it." And Christopher George came to me and he said, "Grefé, I'll put up with a lot of your," he said, "but if they ever find out in Hollywood I had to tow 2 out to location, I'll never work in Hollywood again." And then,
Did he end up doing it?
yeah, yeah.
He did.
But
Just secrecy.
remember the scene at the waterfall where the girls are all in the water?
Yeah.
Well, it was about maybe 35 degrees. There was drizzling rain, a terrible day. And so we had a 7 o'clock call and he never showed up. I called him and said, "Well, Bill, I looked outside, it's drizzling rain." I said, "Get down here." And we shot all day in the rain, and like that one guy said, nothing stops Grefé. I mean, rain. So what else happened? There was something else funny. Oh, the rap party on Whiskey Mountain. Did you hear about the rap party?
I did hear about. Yeah, you guys got to a huge fight.
Oh, this was. Do you want me to tell that?
Yeah. I know it, but yeah, tell me about it.
Well, after every movie, you have a rap party for the crew and the cast and all that. So we had hired this little place that would film that, and the old lady that owned it, I call her Miss Pitty Pat. She looked like the lady in Gone with the Wind with the curls, the little nervous lady.
Yeah.
So we had a private bar, and we'd rented the place, and this van pulls up with 4 young guys in their 20s. They came in, "Do you got anything to drink in here?" And she says, "Oh, well, I'm sorry, this is a private party." They said, "Well, we see a bar over there," and they shove her aside. They go, and there was one of the North Carolina guys' name was Booger. And Booger looked like a linebacker for the NFL. wide shoulders and this and that.
Yeah.
And these young guys come up and they sort of push him aside, got a drink, and Booger let him have a right. Bam, down he's down. And now a John Wayne type fight starts, my crew and the North Carolina crew and the three guys that are remaining. So I said to Frank Rickman, who was the leader of the North Carolina guys, I said, Frank, you grab a couple of these guys, I'll grab, we got to get them to their van. They're going to get killed. So it was like 35 degrees and it hadn't quite snowed and there was drizzling rain and mud. So he gets two of the guys and I got the other guy. We were outside and they're holding Booger, because Booger's going to kill him. And anyway, they get outside and one of the idiot kids hit Frank Rickman. And they said, they hit Frank, turn Booger loose. So we're out there. The other guy hits me. And so I'm down and I got the guy, and we're in the mud. I mean, it was just terrible, muddy. I got the guy in a headlock, and Melanie's got one of my legs, and my wife, Grace, has the other, and they're dragging us through the mud, and I'm pounding this guy. And Frank Rickman literally bit this guy's ear completely off. And the next day, this guy came looking in the mud for his ear, hoping it could be sewn back on. That was a rap party to end all rap parties.
See, I didn't know all that. I knew you guys had a fight. I did not know you bit a guy's. That's crazy. One of the things I love about, I really love the ending. You think they get out and then the guy comes up. Was that always the intended ending?
Yeah. I figured that all out. But what I got more compliments on was the way I did the rape scene with the Polaroid camera.
The Polaroids.
Yeah, I mean, Quentin Tarantino said that took a lot of figuring out how to do that. Any event.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. I just have a few, quick questions to ask you about just, life, and then we'll go. But thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
It was fun. By chance, do you make a DVD of this?
I'm gonna put it on YouTube, and I'm also gonna have the audio of it for the podcast. So there will be two ways for you to watch it.
Yeah, okay. All right, terrific. All right.
So how do you first, these little quick questions, you don't have to talk long about it. Do you like what do you do when you do you have a beginning of the day routine or?
Well, no, unfortunately, I hurt my back a lot because my wife died a few months ago, and we had an accident. She fell, and I hurt my back. So I've done a lot of stuff with young filmmakers, and I like to shoot short stuff. But some people ask me, what does it take to direct a movie? And I said, a strong pair of legs, because I never sat down. I was always doing this and doing that, Anyway, but it's you'll get a kick out of that thumbs. Go to YouTube.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch that. Do you do you meditate at all?
Meditate? No, just like I told you, school teacher called my mother and said, Billy's a nice boy, but all he does is look out the window and daydream. So
there you go.
He gets up and he walks. Don't let him. He gets up and maybe he goes for his walk, and he sits outside, and he still helps young filmmakers every single day of his life. He constantly returns a phone call and is always on board to help somebody out.
Help more people get in the business, Do you know who
Yeah.
Fred Olin Ray is? Fred
I'm
Olin.
sorry. What
You
is
know
it?
who Fred Olin Ray is?
I saw him on the documentary. I'm not quite familiar, but I
If you
saw
look
him
him
speak
up
on
on
the.
International Movie Database, Fred has directed over 100 movies. He used to come to me when he was a kid, and I encouraged him to get in the business. So anyway, I always like to help people.
What are you reading? Are you reading anything
Well, I
currently?
read Quentin Tarantino's book.
Oh,
He
yeah.
just and then I'm writing another little short thing regarding kids with their
Texting.
texting.
Kids about texting.
I'm writing another little thing that we'll probably shoot.
Last question. What are you watching now? Like, what do you watch for fun?
Well, I go to Turner classic movies a lot. Some of the other movies, it's, I don't know what it is. Some of the sound is not as good as the old movie, and the actors are, but they said, I asked a good friend of mine, he said, yeah, I have the same trouble. He said, but the old actors were basically stage actors and they pronounced things right, where a lot of the young actors just sort of mumble through it or something.
Yeah, that's something I've had to learn as an actor. Is I work with a voice teacher because speech is so important, and you bring up a good point. The 60s, all the way up to the 60s, American speech was really well done, and then you get into the 80s and it starts to drop off a little bit.
All right, well, take good care, and thanks a lot.
This is great. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry we went to 3 hours. I tried to get it. I think we got 2:30.
Anybody will sit for 3 hours watching an old grindhouse director.
Yeah. Well, I watched every I watched all your films. I enjoyed it. You made me a fan. So, now I'm a big fan of yours.
Please, next month, watch for Impulse with Shatner.
Yeah, I definitely want to see Impulse again.
And tons and tons of extras. So people love the extras. So take good care.
All right. Thank you so much. Tell Melanie thank you so much as well.
Right here.
I appreciate your time. All right, sir.
All right.
Wait, how do I okay.
Enjoy.
Okay, that about does it for this episode. I want to thank William Grefé. This is the end of my interview with William Grefé. As always, you can find me at Justin Yachts. Please check out Kim Houston Acting Studios, who helped put this together. And also check out the YouTube version. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you next time on the DMF.